Welcome to the Burnout to Lit Up podcast. I am your host, Erica Del Pozo, occupational therapist, certified health coach, CEO and founder of Joy Energy Time, Miami Girl, and Pineapple Lover. In this podcast, we provide the resources on how to deal with stress, burnout, and anxiety, how to get energized, find true satisfaction and alignment in your life, and more. You will learn how to slay your burnout beast and go from burnt out to a lit up life. Let's do this. So today I have a very special guest on the show. I have known Brett since 2011, so it's been a long time. We met in grad school, and he was in the class with my husband in the physical therapy program. So we studied a lot with each other and our groups of friends. We went to parties together, and now, so many years later, Brett, he graduated as a physical therapist, and he is co-founder and COO of CovalentCareers, New Grad Occupational Therapy, and New Grad Physical Therapy. So welcome, Brett.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the show with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So let's talk about you, and let's talk about if you would like to share where you came from, where you were raised, what some of your interests are, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So originally from New York, the Long Island area, and just like you said, we went to school together down at Nova Southeastern University in Florida. I told myself if I ever went to grad school, I would go somewhere sunny and warm, because I went to undergrad in Albany, and it was snowy and miserable. So that was a fun adventure, being down in Florida. For any aspiring PTs or OTs out there, fantastic school. It's just a great environment, great teachers, great education, all around, excellent place to be. And they have a lot of golf there for any of the golfers. And after school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do in terms of my career. I didn't exactly know how to go about finding a job, applying for jobs, doing all that stuff. And it was definitely a struggle for me. I ended up getting lucky. I got a job that opened up at one of my clinical rotations out here in San Diego, California, at Scripps Mercy Hospital. And I started off my PT career out here doing per diem work, which was great for me because it gave me the flexibility to make my own schedule and time. And, in my life, I always knew that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, whether it be in the clinical space, whether it be in, the non-clinical space, which I'm in now, but so just something entrepreneurial. And while I was working per diem, I ended up starting CovalentCareers.com, and we also started New Grad Physical Therapy and New Grad Occupational Therapy.com as well. And here we are today.
Nice. That was Mike's reasoning too, to go down to Florida for grad school because of the warm weather.
Yeah, well, he was a Northeasterner as well, so we certainly are wooed by things like weather and beaches, for sure.
Yeah, funny, because I'm from Miami, and I applied to schools up there because I wanted a change. But good thing that didn't work out, and I stayed down here. I don't think the winter would have been so good for me.
No, and you also got to meet your now husband, which is, I guess, a stroke of fate.
Yes, yeah, it was meant to be. So awesome. I love that you're in San Diego. It's such a beautiful city. How do you like it there?
It's amazing. I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. It's amazing. The weather's amazing all the time. The interesting part is the culture out here. So coming from New York, we're all like, go, go, go. And everybody's honking horns and, cursing your way down the streets, and everything's super crowded. And then out here, it's the exact opposite. And you don't really notice it until you've lived here for a little bit of time and then take a vacation back to New York, and you're like, wow, it really is loud here. There's certainly too much honking going on, because out here there's nothing. When you're at a stop sign, four-way stop sign, and four people stop, every single person's waving the next guy on. And in New York, everybody's going. Nobody's waving anybody on. So there's stark differences there, and stark differences really with, I guess, like work culture as well. Because coming from New York, it's the hustle, it's the grind, it's, go, go, go. And out here, it's more like go surf, grab a cup of coffee, that type of lifestyle, which is great, especially being from New York and having the work background that I have. Makes it easier to get ahead real quick.
Right. So it's a mix between like your upbringing and the culture from New York and having that work attitude, but in a laid back atmosphere. Yeah.
I think that works perfectly for my personality. Personally, it won't work for everybody out here, but if your personality is right, it's honestly, it's the best place in the world to be.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely be going to California next year, or I'm sorry, this year. Actually, AOTA, one of their conferences a few years back was in San Diego, and I thought it was amazing. Like, you have the beach, you have a beautiful city, and you have nature, which in Miami, like, you don't have nature. Like, you have the beach, but you can't go hiking, so it's like very different.
Yeah, that was the big thing for me. I was thinking about moving back down to Florida. My grandparents were there. Obviously, had a bunch of friends there from school and everything. And the biggest difference for me out here is the nature part of things. And you have the desert, you've got the mountains, you've got it all. And even the beaches have a lot of topography to them where, you can be standing on the edge of a cliff and right below you is a beach. As opposed to in Florida, the beaches, although the water is much warmer all year round, you just don't get that change in elevation or those type of things out there. Different flavors for different people.
Yeah, and I feel like Florida, it's kind of like an essence of New York where people are still, it's kind of like go, go, go down in South Florida, and it's hectic here. Even where we live in Delray Beach, it's pretty hectic. So it's very interesting to compare that in California.
When you guys are out here, let me know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We are not quite sure exactly where we're headed first, but we'll let you know. I think we're going to start in Napa for my friend and I, our big 30th birthday. So right. we'll definitely make our way down there.
Cool. That'll be fun. Napa's great too.
Yeah. Yes. So I want to ask you, I know you said that you had an entrepreneurial mindset or inclination from very early on, but what inspired you to go into PT?
My decision to go into PT was pretty interesting. When I was maybe 22 or so, I moved down actually to Florida, Aventura area, and still didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I was caddying at Turnberry Isle Country Club, which was pretty cool because the members were like Michael Jordan, Lawrence Taylor, Alonzo Mourning, and my dad kind of called me one day. He had just gotten PT, and he's like, hey, I really have someone I'd like you to talk to who was named Dr. Mike Camp. He's a PT out in Bethpage, Long Island. And I was speaking to him, and, I expressed to him, like, I really like the human body. It's very interesting. I like performance and those type of things. And I was thinking about going into exercise science. And he said, Brett, look, do you want to be the best? I was like, yeah, of course, I want to be the best in anything I do. He's like, if you want to be the best, you got to get the best degree and have the best body of knowledge behind you. And PT is the way to go. So, after that conversation, it was really a no-brainer for me. I went into PT. Interestingly enough, my main motivation was simply to learn about the human body. Not much further than that, I have to admit, which is probably why I am where I am today and doing non-clinical work. But after that, I started taking the prereqs because I was a psychology major in undergrad and did all the sciences and everything over a summer, and then eventually got into NSU. Wow,
that's so interesting to hear because when I was telling Mike that I was going to interview you, Mike told me that, ever since he's known you, that he knew that you were very entrepreneurial. So you telling me this now that you went into it with, you're wanting to learn more about the body, but not necessarily go into like a traditional role. That's so interesting because I think what people see, like when they shadow, when they want to go into PT and OT, they just see that role and they don't consider other roles.
Yeah, and I kind of describe that as something I call definitions and boxes. And a lot of people think about careers and professional educations as a definition of who they are. So when people go into PT and OT, they think of themselves as a physical therapist or as an occupational therapist, as opposed to thinking about it as my physical therapy degree is a tool for me to utilize in my life, however I may see fit to use it. And it's a very subtle difference, but it's very important in terms of the mindset, because if you think about yourself as a physical therapist, it's just like you just described, Erica, where you'll think about it as, oh, I can do X, Y, or Z. I can work in a hospital, I can work in home health, or I can work in an outpatient facility. And that's really defines what the rest of my life is going to be, as opposed to, I have this interesting body of knowledge. What can I do with it? And then from there, sky's the limit. You can take it in any direction you want to go.
Yeah. Wow. You really nailed it there. I mean, that in my own personal journey as an OT, what you just said it came to me recently, and that's why I started Joy Energy Time, because it dawned on me that I can use the body of knowledge I learned to do something that doesn't fit into the box that I was told to go in. And now when I think about it, there's tons of PTs and OTs that have their own, that use their body of knowledge and do very creative things with it. So I don't know where we all got this idea, or at least it's not explored enough of we have to stay in a certain area.
Yeah, I think it's straight up because of what you see and what you hear more often than not. Like when you ask people about their careers as physical therapists, it's usually physical therapists from a clinical background. And it's not physical therapists who started some sort of other venture with that was supplemented by their body of knowledge with their degree in physical therapy. So it's likely just accidental programming, we can call it.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. What specifically inspired you or led you down the road to create CovalentCareers?
It was really a stroke of luck, I would say, or we could call it even more so planned luck. I came out here, and one of my good friends named Matt Geller was out here already, and he had started a few companies prior to being the co-founder with me at CovalentCareers. He had started OptometryStudents.com when he was in optometry school. And even before we both actually went to our different grad programs, he was like, he came up to me and asked me, he's like, hey, you want to start OptometryStudents.com? It'll be a resource for optometry students. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. Why would we ever do that? And he ended up being very successful with it and sold it to the American Optometric Association within his first, I think, year and a half of optometry school.
Wow.
And then after he got out of school, he started New Grad Optometry. Same thing. He launched it very successfully. And when I got out here, we were just kind of sitting by the pool one day, and he's like, hey, I'm going to start this company to help people find jobs in healthcare. I said, great, I'm in. And to be honest, really anything he would have said to me, hey, I'm going to do this, do you want in? I would have said absolutely. And there's a few reasons there, and a lot of that will lead into probably stuff that we talk about later, but one of the main reasons I would have jumped at any opportunity is because of his track record, and because of what I had known about him in the past. I mean, me and him have been friends for forever. So when thinking about where we could take that, I started doing a lot of research into the staffing industry and career development industries, and I realized in healthcare there's a ton of opportunity. It's growing at the largest rate out of any job sector in the country. So I just saw it as an opportunity, and then thinking even further. When thinking about newgradphysicaltherapy.com, I thought about it from my own experience. of struggling after I graduated, having no idea what I needed to do to even apply for the board exam, having no idea how to write a resume, having no idea what a cover letter was or how to apply for jobs or do any of that. And my thought was that other people, other practitioners, other physical therapists, and then eventually other occupational therapists are having the same struggles. So why not build this body of knowledge that will help guide people once they graduate from school?
Right. Oh my God, that's amazing. And so then I'm assuming that led to New Grad Occupational Therapy. So who started that?
So that was started just a few months after we started newgradphysicaltherapy.com, but we really didn't focus on it for about a year after newgradphysicaltherapy.com. Mm-hmm. This is something that a lot of entrepreneurs will face in their career, but you try to do too much too soon, and you end up realizing, focus your attention, focus on a niche, master that niche, and then move to another space and start doing more. So that was kind of a mistake that we made early on, was we tried to go into too many different verticals at the same time, and we realized we were stretching ourselves too thin and mastering nothing. So then we focused back in. But now we have a great team, an occupational therapist named Dominic is the publication director, and he has a great team of writers under him. And Devin is our social media manager, so anything that you see on social media, she is responsible for. She's also an absolute rock star. The two of them together really are responsible for any of the content and growth that you've seen within that publication so far.
Cool. Yeah, I can definitely relate to trying to grow too fast, especially as an entrepreneur. Like, I can't go to sleep sometimes. I have so many ideas, and then I try to do them all. And then, like you said, you get nothing done because you're trying to do too many things.
Yeah, and what the beauty is eventually you run into this point where you start focusing that attention that you're describing there, and a lot starts happening. A lot starts happening very quickly, because now you've taken a lot of ideas and you've decided to focus on one of them and really make that one pop. And making anything work, it's just simply going to take time. And the more effort you put into one specific thing, the less time it will take, and the better foundations that you'll set for yourself in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that goes for anything, going through school and being an entrepreneur. Definitely going deeper than going wider. I love that.
There's a really great book by an author named Seth Godin called The Dip, which I would absolutely recommend to anybody starting off on an entrepreneurial journey, or really who has the idea of achieving success in your life. And it's really more about quitting than it is about anything else. And in terms of quitting, it's about quitting the things that you don't that aren't important enough for you to master. Like, for instance, if you start snowboarding, but you're not going to take the time to get through the dip to be able to be good enough for it to be fun, just don't do it to begin with. Take those things out of your life, and you'll have much more time for the things that you do want to focus on.
Yeah, so I think I might have heard him actually on another podcast. He was talking about, it had to have been him because it was so specific with the whole dip. Like, people have to get past that funk if they really mean it, because everyone quits at the dip, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. So the first part of it is looking at the future of the path that you're on and making sure that it is actually a dip that you're in, and it's not what he describes as a cul-de-sac, which is a journey that's not going to take you anywhere. So if you're in a job that has no growth opportunities, that would be a cul-de-sac. There's nowhere to go. It's not a dip. It's not worth the struggles to stay there, because there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, or there's no freedom. There's no anything. There's no change. In a dip, there's a increase in struggle in the beginning, but then at the end you get to reap the rewards of your efforts.
Right. Yeah, that I definitely have to check that out. I love Audible. If anyone is too busy to read, try Audible. It's amazing. You can listen to it while you're driving and consume a lot of books that way.
Yeah, that's actually how I consume the majority of my books.
Oh, awesome.
I try to listen to like 4 books a month at least, and it's on whatever topic that I need to learn about today. That's something that entrepreneurs will discover, is that you have to wear many hats, all of the hats at some point. Whether you're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you are the engineer, you are the HR director and the finance person, you're also the legal person. So you have to be willing to do all those things. And, just like you sought out your clinical knowledge in school and in textbooks, seek out your business knowledge in the same way. Look to the people who are the business experts. Find out what they're reading. Find out, what are the different ways that you can do things. And keep on learning. And that will absolutely help you succeed and get to whatever goals that you're trying to achieve faster.
Oh, amen. I saw this quote. It was like, okay, someone works from 9 to 5, but an entrepreneur works from the moment they open their eyes to the moment they close their eyes. And like, that's so true. At least in my case now, especially working a clinical job, I'm adjuncting at Nova and I'm running my business. So I just feel like I'm either, if I'm not like working, I'm learning. I'm like doing something. I have to be doing something.
Yeah, and that's great. And it's honestly, it's the most important muscle to flex, is the ability to just keep on going, because it allows your mind to stay focused on those things that are important to you. And I've seen you working, and it's all paying off. It's just slowly, little by little, you start to build upon every single action that you take. And the more actions that you take in a specific direction, the greater your chance of getting where you want to go.
Yes. Thank you. My hard work will pay off soon. Well, Mike and I, our hard work will pay off soon. Now I want to bring up burnout because that's my focus, and that my intention is to address burnout prevention in healthcare providers. And I know you have an amazing article on, is it new Grad PT?
It's actually, the one that you're describing is probably on CovalentCareers.
Oh, okay, on CovalentCareers. Yeah, you have an amazing article, and I know burnout is something that is, or at least I'm noticing within myself, is something that we're really bringing to everyone's attention. So what's your experience of burnout, if you ever experienced that, or what is something that with burnout that you noticed that you're observing?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting because, insanely enough, our burnout article is by probably tenfold our most popular resource on any of our websites. There's been over like 300,000 clinicians who have read the article and shared the article. It's been shared more times than I've ever seen anything, that we've done, shared. Through social media, through email, through text message, whatever it may be. And so you look at that and you're like, why is that? It's like, well, this issue must be extremely important to people and it must resonate with them. And the fact that burnout is the thing that's resonating most with people is more than interesting. It sounds like a problem to me. It sounds like something that needs to be addressed, and it's fantastic that you are bringing it upon yourself to be one of the people who does address it, because it's super important. It's dealing with people's happiness. It's dealing with people's lives. And obviously we know as clinicians that the way we feel will absolutely influence the way we treat our patients, and then in turn the results that patients get from seeing us as clinicians. So burnout is a real problem. When it comes to being burnt out as a clinician, I'm not a great example. I didn't last as a clinician very long. I wouldn't say I was burnt out. I enjoyed my time in the clinic. I just saw my future going in a different direction, and it's kind of like that dip principle, where for me I saw it as I needed to quit everything else and focus 100% of my efforts on these business ventures to make them as successful as they could possibly be and as we've dreamed up here. And talking with other clinicians, however, what I do hear from them is the ones that burn out most, I see a lot of similarities. And the biggest thing that stands out to me is that they don't know what direction that they want to take their lives. They haven't really set goals for themselves. So, okay, I guess this goes back to the other principle. It's kind of like a cul-de-sac. They feel like they're in this cul-de-sac. They feel like they don't know what they want to do. And, it gets blamed a lot on paperwork, and it gets blamed a lot on things outside of our control. But, I don't know. The way that I view life and see life is that there's much more in our control than we believe. And the only reason that it wouldn't be in our control is if we believe it's not. And so a lot of people play the victim. And one of the ways around that is to address something. If you're not happy in your current job, move somewhere else. If it's that you're in acute care and it's just too much for you to see patients who are really struggling, move to a different type of practice. There are so many different things that we can do as clinicians, and I think what happens is that people become afraid and they don't take those leaps for change, and so they stay somewhere where they're not happy, and then now it's considered what we are describing here as burnout, where I feel burnt out as a clinician. But the reality is that you just haven't taken that leap to change, and your body and your mind have been telling you one thing, but you've been ignoring the signals for so long that now it's just described, it's burnout, it's burnout, it's burnout, it's burnout, it's burnout. But those signals have been there the whole time. You just need to heed the word and listen and make a change. There's other things for you to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of deep soul searching, because I knew right off the bat I wouldn't survive in a very acute setting because I like stability. So that's why I've been an outpatient my whole career. I think it's about getting clear with yourself and what it is that you want. And also, looking not going into your career with 100% energy, but also the key to burnout is maintaining that energy, because people get burnt out. A part of that is exhaustion, and they lose their energy. So, I mean, that's the part. That's the tough part. It's energy. It's the cynicism that you develop with towards patients, towards coworkers, and it's the decreased self-efficacy. You begin to you don't believe in yourself, or you don't think you're a good clinician or whatever. So why is it that OTs and PTs, why don't people talk about it as much? And why is burnout and OTs and PTs, why do you think it's so strong, or what's the word I want to use? Prevalent. Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily just OTs and PTs. I think it's more systemic than that.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's much more widespread, both in healthcare and in other fields as well. And we just see it and hear about it in the PT and OT communities, because those are the people we talk to on a daily basis, and that's the world that we live in. But it's happening everywhere, and I think, this is absolutely my personal opinion, but I think it's just more about our culture and what we believe careers are supposed to be, and the way that we are as human beings nowadays, where our minds are, how do I describe it? They need to be moving at such a fast pace, because information's coming at us from all angles, which really changes the way we all think and the way we all live. Social media, all of it, the whole thing, phones at all times. Your mind just needs to be active, and that translates into people's patience as well. Patience with their careers. Everybody wants to win the lotto, to hit it big. Everything needs to happen instantly, but it's just not a reality. The reality is you need to be patient, and you need to stick with things. And if something is a passion for you, then stick with it. And then on the other side of things, there's fear. And people fear change more than anything else. So when they're in a job that is stable, you're in acute care, and I get paid well, and I have great benefits, and I'm thinking about all those things that are good about it, but I keep forgetting about how unhappy I am in my job. And people fear change because it it takes a leap of faith to change what you're doing. So you think, oh, I'm going to lose something by changing. But again, the reality is that your body, your mind, it's telling you something. It's saying, hey, look, listen to these signals. You're not happy here. You need to change. And any change you make is going to be better than staying in a situation that you know you're unhappy in.
Yeah. Yes. I have worked with a lot of OTs and PTs that I can tell they genuinely love the setting they're in. And I've seen people where like they are kind of just putting up with it because it's a good job type of thing. And that scares me because then you're not doing yourself you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing your patients a disservice. Like you're not making anyone happy, so I feel like you have to really listen to yourself. And I also think like our generation, we're getting, I want to say we're getting better at that. I feel like our parents' generation, there's a lot more, like jobs there weren't as many jobs as there are today. So they like really hunkered down for like 20, 30 years at a job. I feel like now, I mean, you're right. Everything's moving really fast and it's almost like a double-edged sword. It could be a good opportunity for us to realize, okay, I'm not happy. So what's next,
Yeah, that's the big thing. And with our generation, we're kind of on the cusp of change in the world, where we didn't grow up with social media and cell phones and everything when we were super young. That stuff started coming about when we were teenagers and in that part of life. So now when we're, at least for me, when I hit like 30 years old, what am I, 32 now, it was a big shift for me mentally because I started thinking more long term. I started thinking deep into my future. But when I was in my 20s, I didn't think like that. I always thought, for the moment. I didn't ever think of like, well, what are my actions going to lead me? What are my actions going to lead to in the future? And when you start thinking about future and your direction and those type of things, one of the key filters that you need to put your thoughts through is your long-term happiness, and it's a filter that gets it gets forgot about, but it's the most important one.
Yes, absolutely. I want to ask you, what were some hurdles that you faced in building your Covalent Careers and new Grad PT?
Man, I mean, they're too numerous to count. I would say there's certainly more hurdles than there have been tailwinds for success. Every day is a new challenge. In the beginning, the challenge was having resources to do what I needed to do. I was working at the hospital, just like you are. I was working at the hospital. Then I was Airbnb-ing my place out because I was only working 1 to 2 days a week at the hospital. I started, really taking less shifts because I wanted to spend more time working on the business. And then so that was a big hurdle. It's like, how do I balance all this stuff? How do I balance my life? How do I make sure that I can pay my bills while being able to maintain the amount of time in my day that's going to be needed for success? The other hurdles were learning about business and learning about finance and learning about the legal paperwork that goes into starting a business. And the biggest hurdle with any of this is the psychological one, and it's sitting down to do the work that you know that needs to get done. And a lot of people, they have a great idea and they have something that they want to do, but what stops them is again, it's that fear, and they don't just sit down to get the work done. And that's all that needs to be done, is you just need to show up day in and day out and just start doing stuff. And you'll have a goal, you'll have a direction that you want to go in, and eventually the path will start opening. It's like, have you ever played video games when you were younger, and there's like a map, and the map starts off as like completely black, and as you start walking the map, you start to see more and more of the map, and once you move forward, you see where you've been, but you don't see everything on the map right from the beginning. It's just like that. Like, there is no map for you. There's no map that tells you how to get from where you are today to where you set your goals. And you are just really opening up that journey as you go. So, I mean, the biggest hurdle, number one, is getting started, just sitting down every single day and doing stuff. And then after that, I mean, we could talk about the thousands of hurdles that have happened. You're going to make bad decisions, but make sure to not make that bad decision that'll make you go broke. You're going to make bad decisions when it comes to the product that you're selling and making sure that what you're selling is what actually people want. You're going to make the mistakes of financial mistakes, and you didn't really analyze your business in enough of a way that it's like, oh, this actually makes sense. You're going to make the mistakes of being too aggressive. You're going to make the mistakes of being too passive. You're going to make all the mistakes. Anything that you want to do, it's going to you're going to first make a mistake, and then you're going to learn, and then you're going to try something new. And the only mistake that'll count you out of the game is giving up and quitting.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Have you read the book called Start by John Acuff?
No, I have not read Start.
Well, I feel like you and I are past the start, but it's about how to start, and it's really good. I read it when I first started to dabble in entrepreneurship, not knowing anything. But you're right. And I have to tell myself that because I do Instagram lives, sometimes Facebook lives, which I need to do more of, but I hate it. I freaking hate it because I think I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to sound stupid. But then it's I think about that little thought, if you don't start, you're never going to start. So it's taking all those hits of your perceived oh, I'm going to look stupid or whatever, just taking all those hits to get to the point of, yes, now things are starting to make sense.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I thought too. And the truth is that, you might look stupid, but nobody cares. And
yeah.
If people are looking at it, if people are watching what you're doing, that's a good thing. Then you've garnished the attention that was the whole purpose of you doing what you were doing. So, kudos to you for looking stupid. And if people are watching, then great, even better. Maybe what you think looking stupid is for yourself is actually something positive for other people. And you'll only know once you, just like you said, once you try.
Yes, absolutely. Amen. Amen to that. Well, and also starting the podcast, when I was growing up, I had I stuttered a lot and I was made fun of a lot. So just doing what I'm doing, it's sometimes when I stumble, I feel stupid. But then again, I'm sure it's just it only adds to who you are. And I feel there's always... you're always gonna stop yourself, you're always gonna make excuses not to sit down and do the work, but you have to stop and be okay, this is really what I want, this is what I want to do, so I have to make it happen.
That's exactly right. And just depersonalize everything. Just know that an interesting thought that can help you get moving is that nobody else is doing anything. So if you do something, you're way ahead of the curve. Literally, no one else is doing anything. Look around you. How many people are doing stuff that is outside of what 99.9% of everybody else is doing, which is just going to work, going home, watching TV, eating some dinner, browsing the internet, whatever it may be, and going to bed. Wake up, rinse, repeat. There's nobody's doing anything. So what'll set you apart is literally just doing absolutely anything, whatever it is you can think of.
Right. And for all the healthcare professionals listening, I think starting your day off with an intention, because our lives can get very unintentional, and our lives can get very automatic, like you just said, Brett. So I feel no matter where you are in life, A, reevaluate, is it your passion? Is it your purpose? And B, set an intention for that day and make it a day full of meaning versus just like you said, rinse and repeat. So, yeah, that's really powerful.
Yeah, and know the beginnings are going to be a struggle, and you're going to have to put in the time. And when I say beginnings, I don't mean the first week. I don't mean the first month. I don't even mean the first year. I mean the first many years. You're going to struggle the entire time, and you're going to feel the winds, and the winds are going to come, and then you're going to feel like you're on top of the world, and then you're going to get hit with another big roadblock, and something else is going to happen, and you're going to feel the lows. but it's more like, it's an up and a down, but it's more like a sinusoidal curve that's on an angle. It's an upward angle that you're going, but you'll be going up, but it'll feel like you're going up and down and up and down and up and down, and eventually you'll get somewhere where you'll start building momentum, and the way up will become much faster, and you'll hit new levels, and you'll like say to yourself, wow, I feel like I leveled up this time. This is a good one. I'm now, my starting point is now higher than it was yesterday.
Yes. It's a true test of commitment, perseverance, all that stuff. So I want to ask you, what is your big vision for your business? Where do you see, not just your business, but you, like what's your big vision for that?
Well, I mean, my life goal is to get on the senior PGA Tour,
Nice.
golf. I'm not that great of a golfer today, but I figure if I give myself 25 years to accomplish anything, I can accomplish it. So not to get on the PGA Tour, but the senior PGA Tour. That's my big, hairy, audacious goal. When it comes to the business side of things, we want to be the largest career development company in all of healthcare, and with a focus on new graduates.
Nice. I definitely for anyone that hasn't checked out Brett's site, CovalentCareers, New Grad Occupational Therapy, and New Grad Occupational Physical Therapy, I mean, it's an amazing resource. So I don't have any doubt that you will get to your goal.
I appreciate that. That's kind of you to say.
So I want to ask you a few more questions, and then we'll start to wrap it up. So if you could tell someone that's considering PT or OT, they just applied, they're fresh to school, what would be like one piece of advice you would tell them?
If you're just starting out, I would say, start thinking more about your future as early as possible, and really start looking inside yourself and try to figure out what it is you want to do. When I look back, I feel like I could be much further ahead than I am now, which, I'm pretty far along my journey, but I feel like I could be much further ahead, having started and understanding more about myself earlier. Now that doesn't mean you're going to need to come to an answer and know exactly what your future needs to look like, but just put some time to it, mind yourself, look deep inside yourself and see what it is that you want to do, and then you can start researching those things while you're in school. I mean, Mike, Mike, your husband, he sat next to me in class a lot of times, and I certainly was not looking at anything that had to do with physical therapy.
Neither was he, I'm sure.
Yeah, we were talking more about, stock investments and finance and all this stuff, and we had no idea what we were talking about. But we started researching, and we started doing those type of things because I think for both of us, business and those type of things were of interest to us. So, just getting a start as soon as possible, really doing anything, whether it's starting a podcast in school, whether it's starting a YouTube channel, just anything. If you think that you're going to want to go in a direction other than 9 to 5 patient care, whatever it may be, start early.
Yeah, I see a lot now in the YouTube space and Instagram. I see like a lot of nursing students and medical students. They're having all these like fun things like YouTube channels, and they're really engaging and they're growing their audience intentionally. But I haven't researched enough, or I just haven't, or there really isn't. There's not as many PT and OT students doing the same. So maybe because there's less of us, or maybe it hasn't caught on. But I think it would be so cool, like you said, like to really start thinking outside of the box as a student and diving into anything that interests you, whether it's clinically related or not, but start, exploring other parts of you, because you never know, that could end up marrying that with your career, like how I am. And it's just like, you would have never thought that if you would have just stayed in the box.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. If you don't start and if you don't try, you won't learn more about yourself. There's even like Mark Cuban was like describing his life, and he just described, he's like, I did 1 million jobs until I figured out what I wanted to do, but he tried them all, and if he didn't try them, then he wouldn't have known what he was really good at, and then he wouldn't have known what he was really passionate about, and he wouldn't be where he is today. most people don't find out what, quote unquote, what they love or what they like because they never try anything. They just kind of mosey along in a single direction and never look outside the lines.
Yeah. And I even know some OT and PT, well, like when I was a student, that they were committed to one area, like peds or neuro, but they were so like gung-ho about that without even being open to other things. So I urge you, if you're in school or like even with that, just like being open to other things, just like letting that go, because anything could be a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's people out there, and I certainly was not one of them that found what they loved very early on. And if you feel something and if it resonates with you and your gut tells you this is what I want to do forever, you could go with that too, and just hit it with everything that you got and become the best of the best. But really, really listen and listen deep inside yourself and say, like, is this just a fleeting thought, or is this something that my gut tells me that I have a complete passion for? And if it's not the latter, then start trying new things and see what happens.
Right. Absolutely. I think I know the answer to this next question, but what profession other than your own that you would have done or attempted?
Man, I don't think there's really any profession that I would have done or attempted besides the one that I was in. There's not much that I really would have changed. I enjoy the path that I'm on. I think for me, like I described earlier, the reasons for me going to school was because I wanted to learn about the human body, and I accomplished that. And now I get to take my background and basically create my own educational course in the form of entrepreneurship. And I get to create my own lesson plan. And it's a lesson plan for myself. And then eventually my hope is to be able to disseminate as much information that I've learned over the course of my career and help others who are just starting out in theirs become successful in any way that they want to be.
Awesome. I thought you would have said golfer.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm on that journey too. I think I don't think that in my life I would have ever been ready to be a professional anything when I was younger. And as I get older, I feel like we all change. I feel myself changing. I feel myself going in that direction. And setting a goal for when I'm 55 years old to be on a senior tour, it's one of those things that just feels very right. And I do love golf. I love playing, and I can still play today and do the other things that I want to do.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, but I loved your answer. That's true. Like, I would have said for me what other profession I would have done. I always wanted to be a writer, but here's the really fun thing is that now I see that merging with what I'm doing with Joy Energy Time, and I want to create a workbook for healthcare professionals. So it's funny how like your passions, the things you enjoyed when you were a kid, even being an entrepreneur, like selling lemonade, like those things kind of resurface if you allow them to, and you can make that happen. Like, the things that you used to enjoy, make it a part of your life.
Yeah, and I know that Eleanor, actually, when you sent her your article, she got back to me. She said, this is a fantastically written article. So good job.
Thank you. I can't wait for it to be shared with the world. And Mike helped me with that. He's actually right. He just entered from work and he's right here and he's like pointing at himself. He's like, I wrote.
I helped.
He wants the world to know that he helped.
Give him a little bit of and Mike Frasso on the bottom there.
Yeah. He's the CFO. He like really prides himself in that position. So
that's my favorite position here as well, is CFO.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, fun. You get to control the resources.
Yeah, that's right. He said, I like the creative stuff and he likes all the business stuff.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, that's what a good partnership's made of. Like, I had two other co-founders, and all three of our skill sets complement each other. We've got the engineer who really thinks about things, tries to make them as simple as possible, and thinks about the granular details. And then we have the creative person who thinks about the marketing side of things, and then like the math guy who thinks about the numbers and making the business side of things make sense. So it's good when you have someone whose skill set and interests align with yours and complement them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one final question. It's my signature last question. What makes you your most lit up version of yourself?
Man, what makes me my most lit up version of myself? I don't know. I'd have to say, like, going into a project, starting out on a project, and that time where you've grinded it out for so long, and you hit that part where you're like, oh, like, this is getting really good, and this is working. Those are really the moments that I enjoy the most. It's the ones that you have to struggle for, but then after your struggles, like, you see the results of all that hard work. And mostly for me, that's on the business end of things. I was looking at it and be like, wow, we tried this thing and it worked out, and we spent so much time putting it together, and look at, the results were awesome. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and I'm not as lit up. But, that's what I look forward to.
Yeah. Yes. Great answer. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, at Brett K, DPT. You can find me through any of those channels, newgradphysicaltherapy.com, newgradoccupationaltherapy.com, or you can just email me, easiest way, brett@CovalentCareers.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Erica, and keep up all the great work. I'm really enjoying following you on Instagram. Mostly is where I see you most of the time, but definitely looking forward to seeing things progress for you as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right.
Yay.
See you, Mike.
Hey, see you, bro.
Thanks for listening. If you want more, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Also, share this episode with your friends, and I would be so grateful. If you feel inspired, leave a review on iTunes with an honest comment and or what you'd like to hear more of, so you can help me out on my journey in delivering meaningful content. Thanks, mis amores.